This is CBS 46 News at 6. Getting results.
Numbers from Georgia's Department of Public Health show a huge jump in the amount of confirmed coronavirus cases. Good evening, everyone. I'm Karen Greer in for Rick Folbaum.
And I'm Sean Gables reporting live from home, also for the 6 p.m. special digital newscast. According to the New York Times, Georgia now has the 9th most confirmed cases in the country. Right now, we are able to tell you that Georgia has more than 1,200 confirmed coronavirus cases, along with 40 deaths. The number of confirmed cases jumped by 150 overnight. Fulton County has the most cases with 198. Cobb and Gwinnett counties announcing today emergency orders to stop the virus spread across metro Atlanta. Cobb declared a state of emergency effective until April 15th. According to the order, all businesses except those deemed essential can operate no earlier than 6 a.m. and no later than 9 p.m. Restaurants are limited to takeout and delivery, and gatherings of 10 people or more are banned. A very similar order issued in Gwinnett County. Delivery or takeout only for restaurants, gyms, theaters, and other similar establishments must close. The order will be in effect until April 6th.
Well, testing people for the coronavirus remains a huge hurdle here in Georgia. Earlier today, I spoke with Governor Brian Kemp about steps being taken to make sure everyone who needs a test gets one, and what happens to people who don't shelter in place, and what it will take for him to shut the state down completely. Listen in.
Well, the good news is we're ramping up on testing. We have 23 sites around the state now open, our regional sites that I've talked about over the last several days. The lab's processing more testing results, so we've ramped it up on our end. But I think it's important for people to know as well, the more we test, the more positives we're going to have, and that's exactly what we're seeing. So our numbers are jumping, which I know is concerning when people see that. But I want them to know that is something we've been expecting. We know it's going to continue to go up.
How are you able to enforce the stay-at-home orders, the social distancing? What are you going to use to enforce that?
Well, I would hope we wouldn't have to enforce it. I wish our people would do the right thing and not put us in a position to do that. But mark my words, if we have somebody that tests us on that, we will make an example out of them. I do not want to do that. But the Department of Public Health is issuing guidance right now for restaurants and churches and other things on how to operate. And I believe our citizens are going to heed the call and do the right thing. So I hope we don't get to that, but we do have a mechanism through the Public Health Department to be able to do that, and we will if needed.
Now, you can check out my entire interview with the governor on our powerful CBS 46 streaming app, and we want to know right now what you want to ask Governor Kemp and his staff about coronavirus. The governor's statewide town hall airs Thursday night at 8 on CBS 46. Our Sean Gables will be taking part in it, so submit your questions on the CBS 46 Facebook page.
Karen, thank you. Governor Kemp also spoke about Cobb County's Sterigenics plant. As CBS 46's Carolyn Ryan reports, the controversial facility, which uses a cancer-causing chemical to sterilize equipment, has the state's support to reopen.
Well, we learned today that Sterigenics could reopen in the next 24 to 48 hours. The sudden and drastic decision to allow the plant to resume operations comes just days after the FDA got involved, claiming Sterigenics could help in the fight against the coronavirus. The FDA sent a letter to the governor asking for his assistance to increase the supply of PPE, personal protective equipment, to help protect against COVID-19. FDA Commissioner Stephen Hahn wanting the state to allow Sterigenics to reopen to sterilize that equipment. The letter specifically cites gowns, respirators, masks, and gloves.
I know that the Secretary Azar needs that plant open. There's a lot of medical supplies that they need to move to the marketplace. And as he told me, this is a national public health emergency. We need that plant open. And so we're trying to work with them to do so here in the next day or two.
But with dozens of sterilization plants around the country, many question why the FDA would need Sterigenics specifically to meet that need, especially since Cobb County shut it down months ago for not meeting proper safety and fire codes. Others question the need to sterilize the PPE equipment as it applies to the coronavirus at all.
I was a little confused as to the need for sterile items at this point. As you know, most PPE is used on the front lines to create a barrier between the healthcare provider and the patient who may or may not be infected. And that barrier really does not require sterility.
Dr. Cowan, a neurosurgeon in Rome, Georgia, says he and many of his colleagues have been asking for donations from the public for the very items the FDA is requesting Sterigenics be allowed to sterilize. State lawmaker Eric Allen also confused by the mixed messaging.
You've got people volunteering and making 3D printed face shields, masks at their kitchen table, but for some reason the FDA is using these same pieces of equipment as reason to open an ethylene oxide plant that the community is still skeptical about.
Stay with CBS 46 for much more on this developing story in the coming days. In the newsroom, Carolyn Ryan, CBS 46 News.
Carolyn, thank you. Easter is fast approaching, and the holiday could have double meaning this year, Karen.
Absolutely. It is the same day President Trump is suggesting all Americans will be back to work. Vice President Mike Pence speaking about that deadline earlier today with our sister station in Phoenix.
But the president expressed a desire to see America get back to work just as soon as possible. And we're going to be bringing him all the best information about how soon we would be able to put portions of the country back to work or certain Americans back to work.
Now, you can watch the entire interview with Vice President Pence on our website, CBS46.com.
After days of intense discussions, the Senate has reached a bipartisan agreement on a historic relief package for this pandemic.
Relief for cash-strapped Americans almost here. Early this morning, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell announcing lawmakers have reached common ground on $2 trillion in relief. The full Senate will vote on the measure, and then it will go to the House if it passes. Included in that measure is money for checks to be sent right to Americans. Better Call Harry answering your questions tonight about how much you could get and how the package would bail out small Atlanta businesses struggling to survive.
When we profiled Gregoria's cleaning service a week ago, the husband-wife-daughter operation was way down on business. On a busy day, Gregoria's cleans 11 homes, but their crews were down to 3. Our story on the mom-and-pop operation boosted business, some longtime customers offering to pay anyway. But the shot in the arm all Georgia businesses need is the stimulus package now stuck in the U.S. House of Representatives. More than $350 billion allotted to small businesses. Andrew Poulos is a personal finance expert and host of FinancialSmartsNetwork.com. He says how much a business gets all depends on the overhead.
I suspect that probably the average business, if this extends on, if the sort of a shutdown and the quarantine process extends out to beyond 4 to 6 weeks, that businesses will start to need upwards of potentially $50,000 to $100,000.
And while the exact amount for small business loans is unknown, numbers that haven't changed are for the employees who lost their jobs. Checks that can't come soon enough. As it stands in the Senate, $1,200 per person making up to $75,000 a year, and $2,400 for couples making up to $150,000 a year. It also includes additional payments of $500 per child. But if you break that $75,000 or $150,000 threshold, do you still get money for your kids?
If you are phased out, you probably are not going to get the $500 per child either, right? You're either going to be eligible, or if you're phased out, the assumption is at the moment that you're not eligible for anything.
One thing we know for sure, when those checks are issued, it will go directly to you. So if you get something online that says click here, it's a scam. Also, unemployment benefits under this bill, if it passes, would be increased and extended for an additional 13 weeks. I'm Better Call Harry, CBS 46 News.
Harry, thank you. Let's dig deeper into those unemployment claims. Across Georgia, they are rapidly climbing. Last week, the state's unemployment numbers were at more than 5,400. The Department of Labor tells us that they will release new numbers tomorrow that will show a skyrocketed number of people out of work. Many of you have been writing to us for help and how to get your unemployment benefits. CBS 46's Haley Mason is investigating the best ways to file and has new information from the state.
I've been reading emails from viewers who are out of work and trying to get unemployment benefits. I've also been reaching out to the state. They're now sharing the latest information with me that'll help get you paid. Shay Meehan spends much of her time in the dirt, building yard ponds for a living. She now finds herself in the dumps, with clients canceling left and right because of the coronavirus.
I'm sitting here because everybody's at home and nobody has any money.
She called us after filing for unemployment and receiving a notice that her benefits were ready. The problem, she's locked out of the online system.
I got a letter, so here's the letter, and it's the confirmation.
When she logged in Tuesday, she says the system said her PIN is invalid.
And I've left like 4, 5, 6 messages. I've emailed both departments.
Denise Beckwith leads the state's unemployment division.
We have had an extreme large volume of claims. We have all staff on board and trying to help out.
Beckwith says everyone who is out of work needs to first contact their employer to find out their status, whether furloughed, fired, or just temporarily cut. If the employer files on your behalf, it will take about 48 hours to get paid. That's the quickest way. If the individual files for himself, it takes 1 to 2 weeks to get paid. Processing a loan takes 5 to 7 days.
But they need to be patient. Prior to submitting their claim, they need to wait for that email that the claim has been processed.
Beckwith says if you try to request benefits too early, the system will invalidate your PIN. The Department of Labor tells me it is all hands on deck for them right now. They're even training other departments to process claims and even calling in recent retirees to help.
And I realized that they're inundated and that we need to wait, but we also need to eat.
I reached out to the state about what to do if your PIN is rendered invalid. I'll update you on our CBS46 website and app when I get a response back. Reporting in Atlanta, Haley Mason, CBS 46 News.
Haley, thanks. Corporations used to building cars are now changing gears to make life-saving medical equipment. American automakers, including Ford and General Motors, are agreeing to make ventilators during this pandemic. Our Brittany Edney spoke to a local artisan using his talents to make similar equipment.
What will medical professionals do if they end up with more patients than ventilators? It's an unthinkable situation that Italy already experienced. Well, some local artisans, they're stepping up with a solution. Past the barren sidewalks of historic Grant Park, down in a remote basement studio, Carson Pinella blows air into this glass prototype, which may one day be used to help a patient breathe.
The current situation is very unique and something that we haven't seen in generations.
It's called a T-splitter.
And it would be used in an emergency situation.
A device that can turn a single ventilator into a system to help 4 patients.
Polish the ends, and then that would be the finished product.
But would hospitals accept them?
It's better to be prepared and in a situation like this.
The flame's heat reflects off Pinella's face. He spends about 20 minutes shaping and creating the piece. Each one uses about $5 in materials, but he would produce them all for free.
Whether or not these particular devices get used, that there's a community that is willing and able to help support in the effort to fight COVID-19.
The idea has already been presented to doctors in both Denver and Detroit as medical professionals nationwide are trying to prepare should we enter that worst case scenario of running out of ventilators. In Grant Park, I'm Brittany Edney, CBS 46 News.
Oh, what a beautiful day. We had some nasty conditions yesterday as that cold front approached. We had storms. We even had a tornado watch in northwest Georgia. That front now well to our south and east, and behind it, we have cooler temperatures, we have drier air, and we have lots of sunshine. In fact, as you look out over Midtown Atlanta, not a cloud in the sky. Now, if you could look deep down on the city, you'll see we're covered in pollen. Pollen levels are certainly high, but at least we're not dealing with rain, and certainly we're not dealing with any thunderstorms. Temperatures feel amazing right now, 72 degrees right now in Atlanta. We'll keep it nice and warm, at least for the next couple hours, but then temperatures will start to drop. We have very dry air in place. The dew point's only in the 50s, and whenever you have dry air, it heats and cools quickly, so you get that bigger temperature variation between the afternoon high and the overnight low. So tonight, it will get cooler as we drop down to the low 50s. That will be more than 10 degrees cooler than we were last night as we dropped down to 51 degrees in Atlanta. Tomorrow, another gorgeous day. I know everyone is social distancing and spending lots of time at home, but you can go outside, go in the backyard, go in the front yard, walk the dog, and enjoy this gorgeous weather. It's going to be another great day with mostly sunny skies and those temperatures in the mid 70s. A little bit of a change over the next couple of days, and that is it's dry, no rain. I feel like every day in 2020, we've been talking about rain and rain and rain and these waves of rain. We actually have several dry days in the forecast. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, rain-free. We don't get rain moving back in till the second half of the weekend. Now, although that's great because we need a break, it's not so good if you are allergic to tree pollen. Tree pollen levels, even with all that rain overnight, we're high at more than 650 today, and I think they're going to be extreme as early as tomorrow. And I'm forecasting extreme pollen levels through Friday, Saturday. When we get that little bit of rain on Saturday into Sunday, that will lower those pollen levels a little bit, but I don't think it's going to make too much of a difference. This is when we see the highest levels of pollen, and certainly you're going to notice everything's going to be covered with that yellow gunk that we all detest so much. This weekend looks great on Saturday. By Sunday, we do see some rain moving in. It is a cold front. It will move in. Saturday, you'll notice clouds ahead of the front. Then the actual system moves through on Sunday. So we will see a quick burst of showers here, possibly a couple thunderstorms on Sunday as well. Although at this point, it does not look like it will be severe. Next week, another system moves in Tuesday into Wednesday. That one will really lower those temperatures to the 60s. So it does get a little cooler by the middle of next week. But until then, I think we don't even care about that. I think we're focused on those 70s and 80s. The warmest day of the week will be Friday with a high of 84 degrees. How about them apples?